video number we're on?
I believe this is 9.
This is 9?
9 or 10.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
It's the next video.
We're here.
We're doing it.
So today we wanted to talk about common things that Erica and I see in nutrition and in the gym in terms of why people fail or sabotage themselves. And so I know a lot of you were unable to make it to the nutrition talk that we did a couple of weeks ago, but I think there was a point we made that hit home to a lot of people in terms of like, I don't understand why when I change my eating habits and I'm doing what I think is good, I am not successful. And so the concept we showed was if you are truly, making a good effort, good habit, we're looking to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. That is what we overall is considered to be healthy, right?
Sustainable weight loss.
Sustainable, right? Not we're starving ourselves to the point where we are going to just super compensate when we stop. So that's roughly 300 to 500 calories a day that we are in a deficit, right? And so we see these people who crush it during the week.
Monday through Thursday, Friday, they're on it, killing it, in the routine.
So for a person looking to lose 1 pound a week, 3,500 calories, we're just going to keep the math simple. We understand things are different for certain people and whatever, right? We're not going to get into the nuances of that. But say you're negative 500 calories a day, Monday through Friday. That sets you up to be negative 2,500 calories for those 5 days, which means you're almost lost a pound, which when you are in the middle of doing it, probably doesn't feel like a lot, right?
Right.
And I think that creates part of a challenge.
Right. I think a lot of people too, even if you're weighing yourself once a week or something, you step on the scale and it's only down half a pound. A lot of people take that as, they almost look at that as like failing. It's only half a pound. But if you continuously do that, okay, then the next week, even if it is half a pound, that's a full pound in 2 weeks that we lost in a sustainable way. But a lot of people do look at that as, well, it's only half a pound, I'm doing all of this work, and I'm not really getting the results. So then the weekend comes, and they kind of get into this like, fuck it.
Or they're happy with what they did.
Right.
Like, I deserve to celebrate.
Yes. And a lot of us, which was kind of the struggle we had when we did a lot of the healthy eating challenges, you're looking for that moment of, when can I go back to doing what I was doing? When can I have this again? Or, right, I did really good Monday through Friday, Saturday's here, or Sunday, the Bills game, I'm definitely gonna order pizza and wings and eat all of this stuff, or, do whatever. And then that's where we're kind of sabotaging ourselves.
And there's nothing wrong with eating those things.
Absolutely not.
It's I'm going to eat all my normal food and I'm going to eat those things. And so that person who was in a negative 2,500 calories for the 5 days, Saturday and Sunday, and listen, it's a lot harder for people now with the Bills actually being a good team and wanting to do those things, right? And we're still all coming out of the pandemic with wanting to see people and celebrate. And so you have a few pieces of pizza, you have a few chicken wings, maybe you have a couple adult beverages, and all of the sudden, those 2,500 calories negative are gone.
Right.
And because you're eating this saltier food, we get this compensatory water retention.
Yep.
So then,
and I doubt you're drinking as much water as you probably should be.
Right, because you're having alcohol.
Right, because you're drinking other things, you're doing other things, so
then you actually end up gaining a little bit of weight.
Right, so now you, like, say you weighed yourself Friday, you're down that half a pound, now you weigh yourself on Monday, and then you're like, I'm up a pound, I'm up a pound and a half. Which again, looking at that, it's not actual fat that you gained. You then have to realize, like, okay, I ate a lot more yesterday than I normally do, I didn't drink as much water, I probably didn't sleep as much, there's all these other things that go into it, and then you spend the first half of that week losing that water weight that you just gained. So we get to Friday, we're back down a half a pound from Monday, but it's still kind of just that same pound, like half a pound that you're gaining and losing, and you're just really maintaining.
And this is the person who's like, I did it for a month and it didn't work, right? I think that's really common.
Yeah.
I tried eating this way for a month and I was unsuccessful.
Or I did really well for these 8 weeks but that I couldn't maintain it. Whatever it is you were doing wasn't actually sustainable for you, for your lifestyle, and so therefore you were able to kind of get yourself to do it for this short period of time, but then it's like, this isn't really how I want to live my life, so then I just go back to doing what I was doing, we gain the way back, and we're just kind of in this cycle.
You gotta count it all, right? It all counts. And it's like, it's funny, it's like, if you were doing something like saving for retirement, and you're like, I only saved $500 this month, you wouldn't be like, fuck it, let's blow it
let's
all.
just spend it.
Right? Like,
yeah.
But this is what we're doing, is like, hey, I'm saving my health, right? I'm investing in my health, I'm trying to make myself healthier, and I'm on the path to doing it. And I know it's gonna take a long time, but emotionally in that moment, you're like, I'm not doing it, because I'm not there yet.
Right. It's not as much as I thought, or I didn't lose as much as I thought I would lose, or I didn't achieve X that I thought I was going to get. So you're kind of like, what's the point? What am I doing? But it's all of those small things that you're doing, right? Even if it is Sunday, it's the Bills game. Normally you would have 6 beers and you only have 3. Yeah, you still had beer, but it was less than what you normally have. That's progress. Like that's you still being able to enjoy your weekend, enjoy your time, but you're making better choices. So that maybe when you weigh yourself on Monday, we're still up a little bit, but not as much as we would have been if we had 6 beers.
Well, and I think the thing to understand and appreciate is those situations is like, you got to plan, right? And so like, we're using the Bills a lot here, which is fine, but like, if you're going out to dinner, if you're going to watch the Bills game, and certain things are going to be there, right? And so the cost of those items that you're eating, the calories, gotta come from somewhere, right? And I think you would agree, and if you don't, like, please say so. We don't want to sacrifice protein in those situations, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna have beer, I'll get rid of a serving of protein. Yeah. I don't think we would say like, we want to do that. Yeah. Right?
Definitely, and like, something I like to do often, right? If you're going somewhere, like, you're going to a party, you're going out to eat, and maybe you're not sure what they're gonna have. Most of the time when you go out to eat, if you're not eating things at home, it's gonna be more carb, it's gonna be more fat. It's just typically especially if you go to a restaurant, something like that. So having something to eat before you go, definitely making it protein heavy, even if it's like I had a protein shake on the way there. We got a little bit of that protein in, we're having something to eat before we go there so we're not starving, because I think that's what a lot of people do too, and I've done it before where it's like, well, I know I want whatever later, so I'm just not gonna eat all day so I can have way more of this later, and then you just end up eating way more food than you normally would, having more things than you actually wanted because you were so hungry when you got there, and then you're like, oh my gosh, there's all these snacks, I need all of this, instead of kind of keeping your day as normal and consistent as you can, and then plan for, all right, I'm gonna have 2 slices of pizza, I'm gonna have a couple wings, I'll have a beverage, and just leaving it at that, and you still have this normal day leading up to it.
Yeah. I mean, if I know I'm going to eat bad stuff or whatever it is, and I'm not burning 5,000 calories with a ruck or something, like, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, I'm gonna eat less carbs in the beginning of the day. I'm gonna make sure I still have some protein. I'm gonna make sure I hydrate a lot so that I'm not eating because I'm thirsty, right?
Which I think a lot of us do also, where like, you might actually be thirsty, but then there's all these snacks there, and you're thinking you want snacks, really you're just thirsty. That happens.
And I mean, just planning for what you're about to do and realizing in the moment it might taste good to eat a lot more of it, but how are you gonna feel about it the next day, right? So I think that's a big thing that we see people who should and can definitely be making progress with their nutrition goals kind of trip over themselves, right? They get in their way of doing it, and because the success is not immediate, they all of a sudden feel helpless and I'll just go back to doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the person says, I tried eating this way and I'm trying to stay away from diet, because like, you're trying to find a way to eat that allows you to be as healthy as you can be, that you want, as fit as you can be, and sustain it, right? And so you tried it sort of, but you put too much of your own shit back into it, and that's where we failed, right?
Or you go, like, too hard in the beginning. Like you make too many big changes that seem great week 1, but then it's hard for you to maintain that because it's such a change from what you were doing.
Too much restriction.
Right.
Take everything away.
Right. And I mean, like maybe that's where we're going to get to eventually, but you got to give yourself the time to get there and build the habits, right? Like if you're used to eating, chicken finger subs every day for lunch and we want to move away from that, you might not get away from that completely in the first week. Maybe it's all right, I was eating this 5 times a week, now I'm only eating it 2-3 times a week. Okay, that's small progress, and we can keep kind of chipping away at that. We get with anything, it's really exciting in the beginning and you're all jazzed up and you want to do it, you go 100%, that's really hard to maintain. Similar to the gym. You come in 1-2 days a week and you just crush it, go all out, whatever, but then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sore, I'm so smoked, I'm so this, I can't go back. Instead of coming in, giving 80%, doing your best at that, and being able to maintain that for longer.
And anyone can come in 100% on one day and crush.
Right.
Anyone can do that.
And I think another thing too is, even within a day, say you planned out this perfect day, I got all my food, I'm ready to go, I did it all, and then something comes up and you kind of get off track with that. It's someone's birthday at the office, whatever, they bring snacks in, there's food there, and so you kind of eat something that's off your plan you weren't expecting. That doesn't mean the whole day's ruined. And I've definitely been there too, where it's like, oh, I wasn't planning on eating this for lunch and I did, and now I'm just like, fuck it, we'll have ice cream for dinner and do these other things. But really, it's just one meal. So even if you end up having one meal or one snack or something that wasn't what you originally planned for, that doesn't mean the whole day, the whole week's ruined and we gotta wait to start over. Just start again that next meal. The next time you eat, make it a better choice, and that's how we just slowly build that progress.
I think the hard part is, for a lot of people, is that we could give this advice to other people, right? But when we come to ourselves, it's very hard, right? And so I think when you're in these situations and you're stuck with this stuff, really try to look at it from an outside perspective. What would you tell someone, a friend that you really care about, right? How would you help them? How would you help a child navigate some of these situations, right? Like the giving up because it's harder, you're not making progress. Imagine telling a kid, stop trying to walk because you're gonna fall.
Yeah.
Like
I recently learned with Chris's niece how kids have to learn how to jump.
Yeah.
I just wasn't a thing I ever thought of, and she sent this video. Her daughter's 2, learning how to jump. It's so cute and so fun. And obviously, she's not jumping right away. She's bending her knees, and so it wasn't the first time she couldn't do it. She's well, we can't jump.
You'll just never again.
You'll never have that skill. It's no, you keep practicing it, and you keep working at it.
But we keep trying.
Right.
We keep trying and doing the same thing that we know is going to work.
And you're right, the kid learning to jump, even though they're not jumping right away, you're still encouraging them to keep trying. So even for yourself, you're taking small steps. We're not getting the exact progress we want in one day, because I get it. We all eat really healthy for one day, and then the next day you're we should have the exact body we want. I ate really healthy yesterday.
Where's the six pack?
Yeah, I had broccoli for lunch. Where are my abs? And, it's not there, but you still need to encourage yourself and be proud of yourself for making those steps and for working on it.
Progress is progress, right? So I would say this has always been a thing, and I think this is maybe it's because the accounts I follow, one of the good things that I'm seeing start to happen with the IG fitness people of telling people to eat more, right? However, I think there are people who will not need to eat more, but hear the advice and do that. But the more females, I eat 1,200 calories or some arbitrary number, right? They just pick this low number and they start doing that. And I think that is also a big case for self-sabotage in the random selection of this is how many calories I'm gonna have because someone on the internet
set up.
Or I read a magazine article.
Or even too, if you're someone who uses the Whoop or the Apple Watches or some sort of thing that tells you how many,
tracker.
yeah, something that tells you how many calories you're burning. And then you're like, well, according to this, I only burned 1,500 calories, so to be in this like deficit, I should only eat 1,200. Still no. Like, don't use that fitness tracker to be like, this is how much food I should be eating, right? Because that is also just a guide. It's just a tool. I promise you, like, especially females, men for sure also, but you need to eat more than 1,200 calories. You definitely need to eat more than that. And just because you see some fitness influencer online or someone else saying that's how much they eat, that does not mean that's how much you need to eat. Like, that's really where all of our bodies are different, our goals are different, there's so much more that goes into it. You know, you can't just pick this arbitrary number, like, you eat way more calories than I do. And I know, like, before I got the Whoop, I would joke and be like, well, how many calories did you burn in that? I also did that. Okay, we did the same. But, you know, there's no way Dennis and I are going to eat the same amount of food. We have different body types.
We have different goals.
Right, we have different goals that we're trying to do. So the way we eat, the amount we eat is going to be very different. I mean, even Stephanie and I, both of us being females on the taller side, we have different goals. We're going to eat very differently based on, one, our body types, any allergies, things like that, how our body processes food, and then what our goals are.
I think that's a tough part of something I've seen in fitness since I've been in it, right? Like, when I was getting into everything, it was like, get the bodybuilding magazines, and then you look and see what pro bodybuilder did for their workout and what they eat, and it's like, regardless of their performance enhancing drug use,
yeah, we just
that's what they're doing then and now, or that at that point in time for themselves. That's not what they did to get to that point.
Right.
That's what they're doing at that point. And it's like, I think we see the same things happening in CrossFit weightlifting, and it's like, oh, so-and-so's program for blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, that's what they're doing right now, not what allowed them to get where they want to go. Like, you know, I'll give you Matt Frazier as an example, like, people buying his program now, granted he's selling it, like, cool, a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Matt Frazier would basically lock himself in his basement and row for hours. Like, that's the shit no one's gonna do to get there. And that's the stuff that you need to do.
And all those, especially like elite CrossFit athletes, they're all gonna do the things that they're not good at and they don't wanna do to get better. And that's really their secret. So even doing the programs they sell, you know, whether they're good or not, you know, I don't really know, but
it's also for them.
Right. So it's like, no matter what it is that we're trying to work at, like, for them to get where they got, they did things they didn't want to do. And that's basically what it is.
For a long time.
Yes, day after day. Even in terms of, like, the food. Like, they ate pretty, well, I know Matt's a little different because his girlfriend cooked
all of them are different, but that highlights, again, everyone's different.
Right. You know, but for a lot of them, it's like they're just eating the same things day in and day out, the same amount of food day in and day out. They're working on these movements that they don't like to do, that they're not as great at, to get where they want to go. And so sometimes, a lot of times, when we're making changes and we're trying to achieve something we have never achieved before, it's going to be uncomfortable, right? Just like any of the workouts here, no one really likes how it feels during. Like, there's very few.
That's the point.
Yeah, like, there's very few workouts where during it you're like, this is great, I am loving it. You know, you're always like, this sucks, I hate this, why am I doing this? And then you finish the workout and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did 100 push presses. I can't believe I did X amount of this. I finished that. And you feel really good about it. And so the same thing is true for any of these goals you're trying to achieve. It just takes longer than that 19-minute workout or whatever it is. But that feeling's still there at the end of, oh my gosh, I did this, I achieved this. It just takes time.
Yeah, and I think the same is true, kind of skirting around the exercise portion, right? We see the same sabotages and failures in CrossFit specifically, in weightlifting specifically, in that people come in, they want to do it, and they're super excited. It's new, and new is always exciting, right? And so someone starts a diet, changing their eating habits, it's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Someone starts weightlifting or CrossFit, everything's new, it's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, you can make progress real fast, real quick.
Yep.
Right? And so then there's a couple things that happen. One, that accelerated progress definitely falls off.
Mm-hmm.
But two, they like, I want more now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's you need to be 80% for years versus 110% for 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they want all the things, and they want to be able to do all the things. They want to be able to do the muscle up. They want to be able to do a body weight squat snatch, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want to be able to do handstand push-ups, walk on their hands, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hey, we're going to teach you how to do an air squat.
Yeah.
Because
we're going
you
to make
don't know how to
that
do
super good, right? Like, even we talk about like the muscle up. How are your strict pull-ups? How are your chest to bars? Right? We talk about the handstand push-up. Can you kick up to the wall?
Can you do a push-up first?
Yeah, there's all of these layers to get to these movements. And it's like, actually, I was just talking with Ann about it the other day. And, a lot of us, especially here at the gym, sometimes you look at the whiteboard and you're like, oh, this person did this. I want to be able to do that. Or they did that one. I should only do this one. And we very much compare to what other people are doing. And sometimes it's definitely okay to use as guidance. I do that also, like, oh, okay, they were there, this is what they got, the goal's 4 rounds, this is what I'm looking at. But you shouldn't just hold yourself to what someone else is doing, and a lot of you weren't at our gym when we first opened and I first started, and I spent a lot of time sucking. Like, I just showed up and I did what I could, and I was not RXing every workout. I spent a lot of time not getting great scores or finishing workouts because I was working on the skills and really trying to build a solid foundation. And so it was this battle between not scaling down so far that it was like, not that they were easy, but like
we're missing the stimulus.
Right, like where I wouldn't be getting the stimulus that was intended, and then not going so high up that it's like, well, I'm also not getting the stimulus because I can't do those skills or be there. And so being in that middle where I'm not going to get a great score, or I know I'm not going to finish, but this is what's going to make me better. And then that's how I got to do all of these cool skills that I can now sometimes still do. But
well, that's only because your goals have shifted a little bit.
Right,
And I think that's a really hard part for people to understand with us as coaches, that, and we've talked about it, right? Like this idea that we've always had it, and it was always easy and whatever. And like my experience with CrossFit, I'm going on 10 years plus of CrossFit, and 10 years ago, YouTube and the internet and Instagram and Facebook and social media wasn't what it is today, where you can just look up whatever and find skill work and technique work and whatever. I mean, talking about making jump ropes, making pull-up bars, and just practicing without any knowledge of, is this good? I think so. This kind of looks like what that one clip that was like 10 seconds long looked
really
like.
Blurry,
right?
kind of saw it.
And there was a lot of struggle. And listen, I've been working out consistently for 20 years. That's a long time. It's a long time of putting in effort and sucking. And like, you might think and look at our scores or the things that we do and whatever and say, man, that's awesome, that's great. We put ourselves in the positions that you guys put yourselves in, where we're doing things that we are scared to do. I signed up for an event today and I am terrified, and it's just under a year away, and it's scary as hell. And like when Erica signs up for big meets, I'm sure it's like, oh, right?
Yeah,
like
it
is literally on a bigger stage.
Yeah.
And so what we want you guys to know and appreciate and hopefully talk to us about is that if you're in those situations where you're feeling that way, like what do we do? How do we get through it? We help you navigate those situations. And that's true of the food, that's true of the exercise, that's true of whatever. This idea of, I'm not sure if I can do it, typically is the right place to be in, right? That idea of like, I'm not sure. That's how we find out, right? Life happens at the margins of our experiences. And so if we are not pushing ourselves to those margins and we're just staying in that warm, cushy center, nothing's happening.
Right. Like, I like to think like what's that one saying? Like a goal should like scare you a little and excite you a lot. So like if it doesn't scare you a little, if you're not a little intimidated by whatever it is you're doing, is it really big enough? You know, even when Steph talked about her Ironman and I had asked her, you know, why didn't we do a triathlon first? And like, why wasn't that the first goal? Because she knew that that wasn't going to be big enough she wasn't as afraid of that in a way. You know, where like the Ironman was like a much bigger, kind of scarier thing, but she was still really excited about it. And that's where I feel like these amazing things happen, where you're terrified of what's going to happen in a year, but also excited, like, you know, scared, but excited. So that it's okay. And like, kind of like we say too, like with weightlifting, it's gonna feel heavy. It doesn't mean you can't do it. Like, yeah, it's gonna be a little scary. You're changing your lifestyle. You're changing years of habits. It's gonna be scary, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. That doesn't mean you're not excited about it. That doesn't mean great things aren't gonna happen. It also doesn't mean you're not gonna have bad days. You're gonna have those. But we keep just moving forward inch by inch, and then before you know it, you look back and you're like, holy shit, look how far I came. Like, look at all I'm doing now. You know.
There's I think whatever. There's a phrase I've been telling a lot of people lately. Big things turn on small hinges, right? And those small hinges, what we mean by that is like, yeah, the big door that opens up and allows you to go through and get your goal turns on these tiny little hinges. And you don't just rip it open and the hinges aren't greased up. It's every day you're working those hinges a little bit, right? And you're adding that lubrication to it so that you can open that door all the way and you can walk through and you can achieve that huge, awesome thing. But you got to put the work in every day and you got to work those hinges, and that's what we're doing.
And remembering that the weekend are still those days.
Yes.
The days don't just stop Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday do count towards those goals, whether that be making sure you're staying on your food, your sleep, your hydration, your recovery, coming to the gym. Like, the gym is open on Saturday and Sunday. So if you're like, I need to get my 4 or 5 days in this week and I couldn't go 1 or 2 days during the week, you come on the weekends. And we don't look at the weekends as like days I'm not doing anything towards my goals.
Right. Yeah. Anything else?
I think that about covers it.
So yeah, don't sabotage yourself.
Yeah, you can do it. Every day, doing a little something.
Yeah. And again, one more real quick thing before we depart. Your best every day is different, but it still can be your best, right? I made a post the other day. Some days your best is a 10 out of 10. You crush it, right? Awesome. Everything's great. Go play the lottery. And then some days your best is like a 0.00001 out of 10. But show up, because those are the days that really build you, right? Those are the days that make you. It's not the days when everything's great. That's like the coming in at 110%. Anyone can do that. Coming in when you don't want to, obviously it's different if you're sick or whatever, but like just tired, come and show up, build that strength, build that fortitude, build that tenacity, and then keep using that, especially when you don't want to.
Those days when you don't want to, I really do feel like the most progress is made there. Maybe not physically, like maybe we're not lifting as much as we normally would that day or whatever, and that's okay, but you are mentally getting so much stronger on those days because you're showing yourself, I can do it. I can do the thing I didn't think I could. I showed up when I didn't want to, and so you're building that mental strength, which is huge.
Because that's going to bleed into every other aspect of life, and the next time a tough day comes up, you get to lean on that anchor, right?
You've already kind of laid that brick for it, so it's easier to keep building on it.
Do it again, right? Cool. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Halloween tomorrow.
Wear your costume.